Hello everyone. Today I'm going to give you the May tour of my garden. Now it's not May when you're watching this, but it is May when I'm filming this, so it's going to count anyway. But this month has been interesting. It has been much colder than average, so I feel like I would normally be almost done planting everything in my garden, and now I feel like I'm halfway done. But I'm going to go walk around and show you the current stage that it's at. Some things are alive, some things are not alive, and then I'll talk a little bit about what I still have to do. Now, if this is your first time watching a garden tour, I am Bethany, and I live in Chicago. We have two rooftop decks, one that faces east and one that faces west. I'm on the west-facing one right now. They are both full sun. The east one gets the full morning sun, so it's a little bit less intense. This deck gets the full afternoon sun, so there are some plants that will burn to a crisp, like hydrangeas, that I have learned I can no longer grow on this west-facing deck. Each of the decks are 18 by 19 square feet, but the back deck does have the air conditioning units on it, so there's just slightly less space back there. So I'm going to start walking you around the front deck. I'll talk about where my containers are from, what plants I'm growing, and then I will attempt to link everything down below. If you have a question on something that you saw, let me know. So let's go ahead and get started with the way far behind May garden tour. For a quick layout of the deck, I have this center raised bed here. All of my raised beds that are up on these top decks are made from cedar wood, but they are from many different places. Oh, hello, pigeon. And this one is from Gronomics. That's the first brand I ever got beds from. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 from Gronomics that I've gotten over the years. I started gardening here in 2020. Some of the beds have been with me since then. So this one here is the largest. It is in the center of my garden. So I grow what are some of my favorite plants, which are zinnias and petunias. I have been growing zinnias and petunias in this raised bed ever since I got it, which I think was in 2021. And I've grown the exact same petunias in the four corners. And that is this petunia right here, the 200+ award winner, Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. I have mentioned this before, but Supertunia Vista is my favorite. It just grows incredibly huge. You get so many flowers off of one plant. And because my petunias always get eaten by the budworms at some point in time, I want to make sure that I can love them enough for the limited time that I have them. And then the zinnias, these I all started from seed. All of them that look taller are the Queenie Lime series. I have Queenie Lime Red, Queenie Lime Orange, Queenie Lemon Peach, and Queen Lime with Blush. I've forgotten which ones are which, but once they flower, I will know. These smaller zinnias in front, they are dwarf zinnias. They are the Zahara Cherry. I also started these from seed, and they are supposed to be powdery mildew resistant. I always get that every year as well, so I'm going to see if my Queen Lime series gets powdery mildew and how these do against it. If they're in the same bed growing together, I kind of expect the powdery mildew to hit everything, but we shall see. Now, there were 3. This is one of the issues where a zinnia died. All of these I started inside in early April, so about 4 weeks before what should have been our last frost, but again, we have been colder than average. So not only have things died from the cold weather, but a lot of things are stunted. These zinnias have really just started to put on growth since yesterday, and I planted them in here at least over a week ago. But this is my center raised bed. I'm gonna sow some zinnia seeds here. I might add some more to it. I might not. I don't know. I try to remind myself that these will all grow, but for now, this is just full of zinnias and my petunias. Now, turning left from that raised bed, and right now I am facing the door where I come out of. Over here is my storage / flower cart. I will be planting up this flower cart. I normally do every year. Again, just a little bit behind this year, but in this first pot, I have 3 of the pink Thunbergia. I bought these online over winter. I had coconut appeal, which is a white Thunbergia here last year, and I loved it, but I wanted to get something pink because pink is my favorite color. The official name of these is the Black-Eyed Susan Vine Sunny Susie Rose Sensation. I do think they were sold out online from where I got them, but search for that name if you are interested. I have heard, because this one is not proven winners, the coconut appeal one was, I have heard this might not grow as vigorously, so we'll see how it does. But as long as I get some pink flowers, I think I will be very happy. But the plan is it will grow up this cage and then eventually get onto the flower cart and cover the roof. In front of it is a Dahlia fimbriata. I started this inside, again, I think early April, planted the tuber in a pot of soil, and then I moved it out here, what I thought was way too early. But this one is huge. I normally, even during like normal season temperatures, I don't have a dahlia this large, this early. All the rest of them are much smaller, but this is making me excited that it looks green and healthy and alive, and we might see some flowers relatively soon. And then behind it is my storage corner where I shove everything that I don't know what I'm doing with yet into a corner, as well as my garbage can and the new little cat watering can that I got. But this area should look much prettier in a couple weeks. Coming through here, I have my table and chairs, which I think I got from Wayfair many years ago, but it's just a bistro table and chairs. I love it. I've had it out here in my garden for 7 or 8 years, so it's been with us in different gardens, different balconies, but I just love having a little place to sip coffee out here. On the back deck is where I have my couch and where I lounge most of the time, but I do like sitting out here in the mornings. Across from the table and chairs is my herb garden, which I just started with you in the last video, so I have my must-have herbs in here right now. My pineapple sage, my chocolate mint, my banana mint, my apple mints, and my lavender mint. Top left is the lemon bergamot mint that survived last year, and below it is strawberry mint, which also survived last year, and then pineapple mint, which I'm pretty sure has survived. But all of the other ones I just ordered online or got from a garden center this season. But I will add a few more up here. This herb garden is going to be more focused on herbs that I'm going to either use in teas or maybe use in some sort of skincare. All the cooking herbs are going to be grown downstairs this year. And this step shelf I did get from Gardener Supply a couple years ago. I feel like it's been out of stock since, but I will check and see if it is available now. I really like it. I leave it out all winter. The pots I bring inside or leave them out if I'm trying to get the plant to survive, but I leave my raised beds, this metal thing, almost everything except for grow bags and ceramic pots I will leave outside. Over here right next to my bistro table, this raised bed I was gifted from Epic Gardening. I did some videos for them last year, which was really fun. I have 2 of these raised beds. 2 things I like about these is that there is this ledge on them, which I use quite often to set my pruners or water or something on. So I didn't realize how helpful that was until I got a bed that had this. And then also the depth is adjustable. I forget the actual range. It's maybe like 7, 11, or 15 inches, something like that. I set mine to the deepest, even though I probably, well, maybe this bed it will be helpful for, but I don't think I necessarily needed it that deep. But I've never seen that feature before on a bed, so I thought that was really cool that you can adjust it to your needs. What is in here now are my natives. I think at one point I might have had 10 different natives. Some I started from seed, some I got as plants, and I think one of them is basically taking over. So let me show you what's in there, but first let me move my columnar apples out of the way, which I'll talk about after the bed. So right now, well, let me rewind a little bit. It's been at least 2 years. I think this is the 3rd year that I'll have natives in this bed. And last year I had what I started from seed, 1, maybe 2 stalks of the milkweed. And then I had 2 Rebecca, one on this side and one on that side, that were taking over the bed. And I thought I was going to have to transplant them. They'd come back for 2 years. I don't see them yet this year. And now the milkweed appears to be taking over. So it's all there in the center. It's spread over there. That is one of the issues with natives in containers, is that they tend to be aggressive because they like their environment and grow quickly. So I think the milkweed might be taking over right now. And I wouldn't be too sad if I have a whole bed full of milkweed. I don't know if it'll be happy in here long term, but we'll see. Down here I have, actually I don't even know what these are. They kind of look like lilies to me, but I didn't plant any lilies in this bed, so we'll see what happens when these start to bloom. But I think I'm gonna end up with a bed of mostly milkweed. Here I have my columnar apple trees. I don't think they're gonna stay in this position. This is just where they are for now. Once everything is planted, except for the raised beds, which aren't mobile, I will shift things into their spot and then set up my irrigation. But again, I'm still like halfway through planting everything that I need to plant. But these are 2 columnar apple trees that I got this spring from Stark Bros. Columnar apple trees are perfect for small spaces because they just grow straight up vertically. These 2, like I just said, I just put in this spring, but I do have 2 on the garage deck, which we're not going to look at today, but we will look at soon, that I got last year, and I think I had 3 apples total from one. Now you do need 2 different varieties so that they can cross-pollinate, but I have had some issues with cross-pollination. Now the issue I have is that one tree flowered earlier than the other one, and barely just overlapped enough, and I did hand pollinate, so we haven't had many pollinators out. Ideally, a pollinator would fly from one flower to the other. So I use just a little paintbrush, and I'll paint the brush in the center of one flower, get pollen on it, go to the other one and do that same exact thing. So I did do that when they were overlapping. So we'll see if any apples start to form. These two dahlias on the ground here, I also started inside at the exact same time as that large one I just showed you, but they have stayed inside. So the other one has been outside with the sun and the rain, even though it has been cooler, and these have been inside, so there's still a good amount of growth. Again, I started these inside in April in these black pots, but they're not quite as large as that other one. On the left, I have another fimbriata dahlia, and then over here I have a Happet Daydream dahlia. I will be repotting these into at least 7-gallon grow bags or containers, and then adding some sort of support system, probably a 19-inch cage, just like this one. And then in this bed, it's my gomphrena bed that I have grown gomphrena in, again, every single year since I've had this bed. This is another one of the Grownomics beds. I think I got it the same time I got the center raised bed, so about 2021. The ones with the flowers, I did not start from seed. Those are from proven winners. They are the Truffula Pink Gomphrena. And then all of these are the seedlings. I think I showed you recently. They have not been enjoying the up and down weather. Some look completely dead, like that one. Some look half dead, like those two, and some look green. So we're gonna see how these do. Gomphrena do take a longer time than other annuals to start from seed. These I started in early March, so I probably won't direct sow anymore, but if enough die that I feel like it's looking empty, I will just get some more from the garden center. Usually I can find white gomphrena, purple gomphrena, and pink gomphrena pretty easily. This right here is my veggie patch. I like to have all my vegetables together. Now I do have some smaller vegetables kind of throughout the garden, but I just like having a little space to call it my veggie patch. Right now it is full of poppies. I sowed these over winter. I got bored and just tossed some seeds out. I think they'll be red. I'm not sure, but the beds are full. I'm hoping that they'll bloom soon. Usually these bloom late May, early June, so we'll see. I'm gonna leave these here until they bloom. I do have, and I'm not sure if this was a smart idea, a tomato plant buried in here, a tomato plant buried in that other one. I do keep moving the leaves away, but I didn't want to pull the poppies before I planted the tomatoes. So I just left them in here. But I mean, the tomato plant looks green and healthy, so as long as it continues to grow, I'll be happy. Nothing is in the center raised bed except a weed and then more poppies. But once those bloom, I will remove those, and then I will put in there some of the zinnias. Now, all of my vegetables are in grow bags. The ones in the back are 30-gallon, the ones in the front are 7-gallon, and I do have support cages for both of them. I do put plant lifts, plant wheels underneath every single pot, except for my raised beds. But I say 100% do it for grow bags if you're gardening on a wooden deck, because these will get wet and act like a sponge sitting on wood, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to damage your deck any more than I'm already damaging it in general from gardening on it. But I have these little lifts. There's no wheels, but they just keep them about an inch off of the ground. And then here, these are on wheels that you can't see, but that way I can move them around because they are quite heavy once they're all full of soil. Now, most of my vegetables I will get from a garden center as plant starts. Usually I start one variety of each plant, so it's not really worth getting a whole seed packet to just grow one plant. So this first one here is the Lunchbox Sweet Pepper. This is going to be a fruit that's a little bit smaller, and it's actually been really happy in the cooler weather, which usually peppers are the most heat-loving vegetables I grow. Next over here, I have 3 Japanese cucumbers. I killed at least 6 cucumbers, and so I'm not going to do that again if these die, but I started at least 4 from seed, planted them out when I thought the weather was getting warmer, then they died, then I got some starts, and they died. So now I've gotten some more starts, and I think it's going to be warm enough for them to survive. But these are 3 Japanese cucumbers. I will thin them down probably to 2 in here, but I'm going to keep all 3 of them for now. Again, assuming that one of them might die. This is a zucchini plant. This I did start from seed and did not kill. This is zucchini round. I grew it last year. The zucchinis are cute and tiny and round, and I really like them. These leaves do look like they have powdery mildew, which I thought they did last year, but that's just how the leaves look. I have 1 in this grow bag. Over here I have beans, which I also started from seed. I have 4 in this grow bag. 2 of them are green, 2 of them are purple, and I think I can tell by that little bit of color that the 2 in the center are green and the 2 in the front and the back are purple. So I'm trying 4 in a 7-gallon grow bag up this 19-inch cage, and we'll see how they do. Last over here is another pepper. This one is Chocolate Beauty. I'm excited for these because I think they look pretty, but I don't know if they're going to taste any different than a normal bell pepper. But this one also, with the cool weather, has just been happy. Now we can poke in here to see that tomato plant. Both of these are indeterminate. The tag is somewhere in there, but I grow small fruited varieties like cherry tomatoes just because I have much better luck with them in my garden than full-size tomatoes. I'll usually have some sort of disease or pest issue on the full-size tomatoes before I get the fruit. So I have one in there. Like I said, this one is just poppies. And there's the other indeterminate tomato. After I pull the poppies, I'll sow some other seeds in there. I'm not sure exactly what yet, but I don't just grow one tomato plant in a 30-gallon grow bag. These are a bunch of zinnia seedlings that I've started to make up for the ones that I've killed. Well, Mother Nature killed them technically. Well, maybe I killed them because I moved them out too soon. But either way, I'm trying to start some more that I can hopefully replace the dead ones with. I also have more of the dahlias that I've started that, again, I will be planting up into their own grow bags. And then I have 2 dill plants in there that I need to get planted. There's my compost tumbler. And then here in this raised bed, I have just kind of a mishmash of plants right now. In the front row here are carrots, and there's probably some random lettuce seedlings left in here. I had carrots and lettuce in the spring. I have more of the Truffula Pink Gomphrena. Again, this one I got from Proven Winners. I have some cosmos here that I got from a garden center. So one on each side. Basically anything that has color on it that isn't green is something I got from the garden center. Behind it here, I have 4 straw flowers. And then in front here, I have the tiny Tim tomatoes. There are 3 in here. They should get to about a foot tall, but I'm excited to see how these grow just kind of amongst the flower beds. And I've been told, because this is my first year trying them, that you can get a good amount of fruit from one plant. And then here, I have one of my cantaloupe plants. I have another one in the other corner of this bed. They don't look terrible. Like, they don't look like they're dead yet, but they also don't look the happiest or are growing as quickly as my watermelon. So I'm hoping that these stay alive because cantaloupe is my favorite melon. I think I can get cantaloupe plants fairly easily somewhere near me, so if these do die, I'm just going to go ahead and get some starts. Coming along now to the last wall of this garden, I have my 2 raspberry plants here. They are both Heritage Red Raspberry that I got from Stark Bros at least 4 years ago. One of them is a propagation of the other one, so I only ever bought one raspberry. They are super easy to propagate, probably too easy. If you're growing them in the ground, they can grow everywhere. But these have been the easiest plants to keep alive. I leave them out over winter. All I do is push them up against the house. I don't cover them. I don't do anything else. And they just live. And typically we get enough water that I don't water them either over the winter because we get, again, a good amount of snow and rain. But they just kept on living, which is making me happy. Now this elevated bed is officially my oldest bed. I have had this since 2019, moved with it. It is also from Grownomics. I have gotten them online, but I think this one I got from Home Depot. And in it right now are peas, which I would say usually about this time I'm ready to pull them and replace them with something for the warm season because peas are a cool season crop, but they are loving this cooler weather. I do have some oxalis, and I'm not sure what that is growing out of the crack between them. Since I'm not using that space, I'm gonna let them grow and see what happens, but I'm always interested in just seeing how plants can grow even in the tiniest little spaces. Now in the front here is kind of a mess, but that is fine. I have some sweet peas in here that said they didn't need to be trellised, so we're gonna see how those do. We have some weeds, we have some volunteer sunflowers popping up. I think there's some lettuce seeds in here still. But the plan with this bed, which I do every year, is I will take out the peas once they are done for this spring season. Actually, let me take these peas now before I forget. And then I will leave the peas just in the bed to break down. These are sunflower stalks from last year. The summer Sunridge Provence sunflowers. They're just single stem sunflowers, get to like 6 feet tall. And then I will sow another row of the sunflower seeds there. They will grow. I will use them as trellises in the fall for those peas and then keep them through the winter into the spring for these peas. So these are 2024's sunflowers. And this is the last bed on this deck. So this is another one from Epic Gardening that, again, you can adjust the depth of. I also have it at the lowest depth. This one I usually grow annuals in, so I don't really think it needs to be that deep. What I have growing right now are 2 dahlias that survived winter in a container in this raised bed, and that just should not have happened in Chicago, but I am happy that it did. And then in front I have some watermelon plants that, again, look much healthier than my cantaloupes, except I think one's dead. I mean, it's not like completely dead, but it's also not the most alive plant I've ever seen. If you can see little sprouts, those are zinnias that I direct sowed in here. Now, I'm trying to remember, I think this is a dahlia that was growing in the bed with my carrots, or I was digging in and I found a tuber. I think that's what it was. And it had an eye on it and it wasn't rotten. So I put it in here with that tag just so I remembered where I put it. And it's growing. This one just surprised me and started growing in this bed. I don't even really remember planting a dahlia here last year. I know I planted one in the center. So what that is, I have no idea. But this raised bed should have some dahlias, some watermelon, which I plan to drape down the side, and then a bunch of zinnias. So this is how my front deck is doing at the end of May. This has been the deck I've gardened on the longest. It's also kind of my more haphazard deck, even though I am trying to get a little bit more organized. But here I grow a lot of my cut flowers, vegetables, herbs, things that I harvest off of on a regular basis throughout the season. But I don't worry so much about creating like a cohesive, pretty garden. I mean, it's still pretty to me. Even the messiest gardens I think are really beautiful, but this garden isn't one that's just here for looks. It's one that I also use throughout the season. So there's no sort of like color scheme or anything like that. Everything that I want to grow is thrown in here. Now the east deck, which we're going to head to next, on the same level, just faces the other direction. That one, I do still have a lot of cut flowers back there. That one is more of my relaxing area where I do spend most of my time, because that's where our couch furniture is. So I will go out there in the mornings and the evenings and just want to relax. So that one is filled with flowers. I don't think I have any edibles other than the edible flowers out there. And it's more of like a pastel color scheme. So let's head back there. Oh, hello. Would you like to also give a tour of the garden? Yes. Very good. That is. Yes, exactly. That is a native's bed. Good job. So far, well, I might be about to jinx it. I was going to say so far the pigeons have not eaten anything in the garden, but other birds have. But they've just been hanging out for the last 2 years now as my little garden friends. Welcome to my back deck, or the east-facing deck. This has my favorite view of just the beautiful church in the background. Now, I do actually love the front with the wall of trees because I do get a little bit more privacy there. No one can see me across the street just next door. Here it is more open, but that view, especially when this flower border is above the wall, is just so beautiful, especially in the morning. The sun rises right behind the church. So this is my more cohesive sort of garden that I do try to keep to a color scheme, try to make it a bit more relaxing. That's why I'm going for more of the pastel colors this year. And this was also the deck that when we moved in, I said I wasn't going to take over with plants, just so my husband has some space of his own that isn't plant covered. But as you can see, that was a lie. But luckily, he also loves the plants. Coming straight out the door and turning left, I have my pile of plants that I'm refusing to admit are dead. These are 6 hydrangeas. They were hardy down to zone 4, which were zone 6. So I was trying to keep them over winter in the plastic greenhouse on this deck, because typically plants in containers can survive 2 zones colder than your actual zone, but I'm seeing no signs of life on these. I did a scratch test maybe a week ago and some were green, but I don't think these are going to live. However, I do have a very alive hydrangea here. This is a tiny quickfire that I got back in 2022, and it just loves its life out here. Now, this one is a panicle hydrangea, whereas the other ones that I had, I think some were mountain hydrangeas, some were big leaf, and the panicle hydrangeas are the most cold tolerant. So for me, I think I'm just going to stick with panicle hydrangeas up here. This is an empty planter that I'm trying to decide what to do with. Now, the other plants that might be dead are not those dahlias. They are alive, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there another one? No, I think it's just these 5 remaining mint plants. I overwintered 8. 3 so far have shown signs of life. And again, because it's been cooler, I was literally about to throw the pineapple mint away. Is that something? Look, see, this is why I'm waiting. That little green speck is a banana mint leaf. Okay, yes, very excited. Some of them have green things that are not mint. So I am not getting rid of these yet. I'm giving them some time. Down here are 2 more dahlia starts. I don't know which ones these are. Did I label these? Let's see. Ah, yes, good for me. Oh, I have Pink Pearl, which I'm I think that's the one I'm most excited for. And then Cafe de Paris. I am going to put these, I think, actually, I was going to say somewhere, but I have no idea yet. They're going to be somewhere on this deck that we're on because they are pastel colors, just not exactly sure where yet. This is a mock orange plant that's just, I don't know where it's going to go either. This deck is, not that it's messy, but this deck is probably the least organized, or I'm least certain of where things are going to be positioned, but I got this last year as well. It did overwinter in the greenhouse and came back, so I'll keep it up here for as long as it wants to live. These here are the lobelia that I'm in love with this year that I got from Proven Winners. I just planted some of them in my back bed border. I'll link all the planting videos down below of these different sections of my garden in case you want some more information, but I did get a request to show the tags because sometimes what I say is not what the subtitles think I say. So this is the Laguna Royal Lilac Lobelia, and that is the color of those flowers. I have the Laguna Royal Pink Lobelia, and that is the color of those flowers. And then last is the Laguna Royal Azure, and those are the little blue flowers. This one's probably my favorite of those three. While I'm sitting on the ground, might as well just show you the rest of these. Most of these I think I have shown planting so far, but as a refresher, this one is a new for, oh, I also want to mention those three lobelia are new for 2026. I got them sent early from Proven Winners. This is another one that's going to be new for 2026, Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Cloud. So the flowers are smaller than the Supertunia Vista. The plant itself is also smaller, but they are still, I would say, a pretty vigorous plant. So Supertunia Mini Vista Pink flowers. This one have any flowers? No. Pink flowers with a yellow center. Oh, those are beautiful. Then I have here the plant that I don't think I'm going to add this into the back deck. I think this is just a little bit too bright. But this is the Luscious Pinkberry Blend Lantana. This one is available now. The next group that I have is the Angel Face Wedgwood Blue. These are Angelonia, which I fell in love with last year. And this is what the flowers on that one look like. And then the other Angelonia is the Angel Face Wedgwood Pink, and this one is new for this year, so it's new for 2025. And these are their beautiful pink flowers. I also wanted to mention something because I like when I can get multiple uses out of things, but for my Jiffy seed starting pellets, I'm not using the trays or the pellets anymore because I started all the seeds in them, so the trays are in storage for next year. I'll be ordering more pellets for next year, but I am still using the lids because for these plants that I haven't planted yet that are in smaller nursery pots, they will dry out much faster than the other ones, so I will put them inside the lid, which I've turned upside down. I will fill it with water, and then that way the plants can soak up the water throughout the day and I don't have to worry about running up here and watering them. This is my bucket planter, which I got for the first time last year off of Amazon. It is meant to store bouquets of flowers with water that stays in these buckets. So I drilled holes in the bottom and made it a vertical planter. Now this is one of the things that's going to be photographed for the Proven Winners Gardener's Idea Handbook for 2026. So I want to make sure that this looks beautiful. But in here I do have some plants that are available now, like the Truffula Pink Gomphrena, and then I think all of the other ones are new for 2026. I'll take you up closer to see what these look like, but this is the Supertunia Vista Cool Jazz. They have Jazzberry, which is a very vibrant, almost neon purple color, and this is a very beautiful light pastel purple color. This up here is the Pink Cloud Supertunia Mini Vista I just showed you, and then I think this might be my favorite. These two Supertunias in the middle row are Supertunia Tiara Pink. I love them. I love them so much. Now they aren't Supertunia Vista, so they shouldn't grow quite as vigorous as the ones below them, but all of the Supertunias that I have grow fairly well. And then this was the Supertunia Vista Cool Jazz, Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Cloud, and the Truffula Pink Gomphrena. Ideally, in a few months, I'll still see the Gomphrena poking above what will be mounds of colorful petunias. At least that's what I envision in my head. This isn't the permanent place for the bucket planter. It is on wheels. I'm going to move it somewhere. I don't know where yet on this deck, but I've just been putting the Angelonia here to get it out of the way while I figure out where I'm going to plant it. And I really like it sitting in front of the bucket planter, so I might do a window box or some other rectangular planter and just set it right in front of the bucket planter when I have it in its place, because I think that looks really pretty. Over here in this corner, I have my other tumbler composter. This one is only single chamber. I got it a few years ago, and the double chamber one on the front deck I just got this year. I realized having a double chamber was much more helpful than just a single chamber, but I think if you are somebody like me who feels like they don't know how composting works, but it just does, a tumbler composter is a very easy way to compost. In front, I do have a peony growing in here. There's an empty pot behind it. And then we move on to my back border, which is always one of my favorite parts of this garden. I have 3 raised beds in this back border. They are all from the Charming Bench Company. And I like that they sit a little bit lower to the ground because we do get wind up here. And because they are lower, the wall really helps to block a lot of the wind. In fact, I don't think I've lost any flowers along this wall from wind. I've lost them due to other things, but not from wind. All 3 of these beds are planted the exact same. I've done some different mixes in the past or like mirror image, but all of these are the exact same plants in the exact same order. However, I know some of them are dead or almost dead, so we'll probably have to replace them with something else, so it'll be a little bit different. But these should get taller than the wall, assuming that the weather gets warmer and things eventually start to grow. So let's go head up close. I'll show you what's in there. Again, anything with color is something that is from a garden center or from Proven Winners, a plant start. Anything that is only green is something I started from seed. I'm going to focus on this bed, but again, they all are planted the exact same way. I just added in, because I desperately needed to see some color, but I just added in the Angelonia and the Lobelia. And then behind it, so in the back there is a Cupcake Blush Cosmos. It'll be a light pink flower. And all of my Cosmos are looking really good this year. I've had off years with them, but I think it's going to be good. I have a dahlia in here, which is a dahlia I've forgotten the name of, Until It Blooms. Always label your plants. I tell that to myself every season, and then I don't. However, if I go back and watch the video where I planted these, I then should be able to know what they are. These dahlias I also started inside and then moved them out here when I was ready to transplant, and they've done really well. I also have in here some Status. That is the very flat looking green leafed plant, but I love the Status flowers to dry. I don't love when the plant's not in bloom because again, it kind of looks like an empty hole with some green leaves at the bottom. So that's why I've put them in the back, well, in the middle row so that they can be hidden by the plants in the front. Same story with my Gomphrena. I do have one Gomphrena plant in the corner of each of these beds. One is a lilac color, one is a pink color. I don't know if they're going to make it, but if not, that's okay. I'll find something else to pop in there. I have a bunch of China Asters that are different varieties. China Aster there. That small one's a China Aster. Middle's a China Aster. That's another Status. 2 China Asters over there. And then I did plant a zinnia back there that also died, so I've just direct sown some more of the seeds so that I can have a zinnia in that corner. So that's the same thing in the same order for these 3 beds. In the pots, which if you saw my planting video, I was contemplating whether to swap a pot because I had 2 that matched and 1 that didn't, and I immediately did after the video was over. But I have peony plants. They're not the same, but I have 2 different peony plants in these pots that I've had since last year, I believe. And then in the pots, I added the blue lobelia. In each of these pots in front, I've also done lobelia. So I have the pink, then the blue with the poppies, the purple, that white Weigela, which I don't know if I'm going to keep there, and then the pink, blue, purple. I'm leaving the yellow super petunias there. Some did mention more of like a buttercream yellow, which I think would be nice and keep with the pastel colors. But my plan is anything that's yellow, because I'm trying to decide if I want to add that to this color scheme, anything that's yellow I'll put in a separate pot so that I can easily move it if I decide I don't want all of that yellow there. But this is my back border so far. There are some other dead things, so let me see if I can find them. There's another corner Gomphrena looking real sad. Oh, this corner Gomphrena is actually looking good. And I almost see a flower, I think, starting to form. So maybe I'll get at least one Gomphrena. That is a dead China Aster, but I'm not too worried about that, and I will show you why in just a second. But I think that is everything that is dead, maybe, in these beds. Next up is my collection of garage dahlias. So these are dahlias from either last year or years even before that I bring down, put in our garage, which is heated to 40 degrees. So it doesn't go below 40 degrees in the winter unless we don't turn the heater on. But in here, they are all starting to come back. So this is how I'm going to plant up all of the dahlias that I still have in the smaller pots. 7-gallon grow bag, a 19-inch support cage, and I'm going to make what I did last year, a wall of dahlias. Those are dinner plate dahlias, so they will get to about 4 to 5 feet. just peeking over the wall, and I loved how it looked last year. Up top, I have more of the Super Tunia Vista Cool Jazz that will completely cover those planters. And then before we head to the back bed, let me show you the mishmash of plants I have down here. In the middle of the deck are some seedlings that I started, some plants that look like they are dead or eaten. I'll have to take a closer look at that. There are some veggies I'm going to put in the front garden. I just haven't gotten a grow bag for those yet. I have some flowers that I had my friend's little daughter and son over, and they sowed some seeds, but they're moving. Well, they have moved now, so I'm going to bring them their plants. If anyone asks, nothing died, and the same number of plants I'm bringing to them is the same number of plants that they started with. But they grew some zinnias. I think I have a sunflower. They grew some statice as well, so I'm excited to bring those to them. I have some my seedlings in the pellets that look very sad that I need to find a spot for. And then over here are the things from Burpee. I'm really sad about this everleaf basil. I'm gonna have to get another one. I loved it last year, and either something ate it, because the weather hasn't been too terrible since I put it outside. So I don't know, but I will definitely want to get another one of those. I have some tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. Some of these I'll probably give away because I just don't have space for them, but I definitely want to keep the pumpkin. There are some smaller tomato plants I'm going to tuck into other areas of the garden, and I just need to figure out when I'm going to get these planted. Here I have more of the luscious pinkberry blend lantana, and then I have the firefly petunias that are supposed to glow in the dark. I still haven't tried yet. I want them to get a bit larger, and I want them to get more full sun, because it's also been cloudy. It's starting to get sunny a bit right now, but the more sun they get, the more they're supposed to glow. So at some point I will take these into a closet and shut the door and hope that I see some sort of glowing light. I'll let you know. Well, I'll probably take you in there with me. This is a pot full of poppies that I just threw in here again, just like the grow bags on the front deck. I'm going to leave them in here, and then once they're done blooming, I will figure out what else I'm going to plant, but I have no idea what I'm going to plant in there yet. This is why I'm not too upset if some of the China asters in the border die, because I didn't know what I was going to do with all of them that I started, so I just threw them all in this bed. This bed is from Cedar Planters, and it's probably my favorite raised bed of all the ones that I have, just because it comes with a bunch of different accessories. This here, I put a greenhouse cover on. It also has like a regular cover, but I left this on. You can unscrew it if you want for the season, but I left it on so that hopefully this pink Thunbergia starts to grow around it. I don't know if this is material that's really good for it to hold on to. If not, I'll add some twine. That's why I put that trellis back there, and then help it guide itself up over this little support system. So I kind of almost feel like a grower. I have these with my asters. I have them in order with their labels. So these are all the Valkyrie. I have, what are you? Tower Yellow. So these are a buttery cream yellow. I might pop some of these into the border if I decide to add yellow to it. I have Europe Resist. I think I have 6 of the Europe Resist, so those did really well. I have Tower Salmon. I have Souffle Pink, Matsumoto Apricot, Chamois, Bonita Shell Pink, and Lady Coral. All of my Hazaster died. My Hazaster Hagen Light Blue, and that makes me very sad because that was one of my favorites, and I don't have any more seed to direct sow. But this is just a bed full of China asters. I don't know if I'm going to leave it like this. I don't know if I'm going to transplant some and add some things that are not China asters or Thunbergia in here, but this is what it's like for now, and I honestly won't mind if I just leave it as it is. But I do harvest off of these a lot for my giveaway bouquets or just bouquets throughout the season. So this is everything that I'm growing on my back or east facing deck, and that means that's the end of this tour. So I'm hoping that in a month we'll see a lot more growth. I'll have a lot more things. Well, hopefully by the end of June I'll have everything planted and my irrigation set up, which I need to wait until I have everything planted to figure out how I'm going to set that up. But other than that, I am excited that it's finally starting to warm up. I'm excited I'm starting to see some color out here again, because I'm just staring at a bunch of brown and gray throughout the winter through the windows, and now I have my garden to come back out to. So let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'll try to link as much information down below, but let me know if there's something specific that you have a question on, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.